Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer back on the East Coast. And we are looking at a little 10-game slate here on Friday night to end the work week with you guys. Got a couple games for you. In this one, we are taking on the Raptors are in Orlando, taking on those Magic. We'll talk about that one here, as well as another game video and our player props that we're bringing you each and every weekday of this regular season. So like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us. Also head to thelines.com. That's where we have all of our great written content. Nate throws his picks up there, as well as our odds finder tool that we have you can use to go ahead and make sure you're getting the best juice back on all these bets you're making in the NBA this season. Nate, let's get into this 10-game slate and then talk Raps and Magic.
Yeah, let's talk some Raps and Magic. Why not? Wizards +5 at Pacers is the first game on the slate. Then you got the Raptors up to -8 at the Magic, and that total is climbing as well, 221. Knicks -3 at the Hornets. The Kings +5 at the Cavs there. The other game we break down, Atlanta's up to +7.5 at the Nets. I like that total going up. It's at 230. I will take the under. Lakers +4.5 at Sixers. The Pistons +10 at Grizz. Suns -2 at Pelicans. Seems like wrong team favored there. Wolves +2 at Jazz. And then the Bucks are in a pick'em at the Mavericks to close things out here. Yeah, with the Raptors, the first thing you look at is the home road splits. They are finally back in a stadium that's full of fans, and they play a different style entirely. When they're in Toronto, the pace goes way up to 100.7 when they're on the road, and that right away is going to help you get to some overs here. And when you're playing this Magic team that's just really experimenting on the fly, I mean, there's going to be so many opportunities to press the advantage in terms of their offense, in terms of Siakam and Barnes creating for themselves or others, because you got the Wagner brothers out there, right? And both of them, while Mo actually has a decent defensive rating, I guess 113, Franz Wagner's defensive rating is around 119 this season. Mo, was typecast in that movie recently as the European guy with an attitude problem who can't play defense, right? So not too far off from Adam Sandler. And, it's just a bad matchup for him, particularly because, again, Siakam, Barnes, so skilled as big guys that they're almost like 6'11 guards out there. So I think Toronto will be scoring with ease here. Mm-hmm. They are 4-0 to the over as road favorites this season. And going over by an average of 16 points per game, which is really stark here. So I think that is the starting point you go here. Orlando, now that Paolo's back in the lineup, they're going to be scoring a lot more on the other end as well. Interested in his player prop, even though it's a relatively tough matchup for him. He just went off against the Bucks too, which we had, by the way. But with Paolo and the Wagner brothers out there, it's going to be a lot of offense for Orlando. We also got Cole Anthony back. They got Markelle Fultz back. Fultz has been extremely up and down in his few games back here, but either one of them could also exploit this Toronto defense, which is a little oversized, like I said, because of what they bring on the offensive end there. But I think Orlando will be able to get into their stuff as well. They score a lot more at home versus on the road. So if it stays at 221, I think you take the over here. But it's creeping up right now, so I don't know how high I'm willing to go.
Not too super crazy high. I think that's a very good call out from the start here is like 220, 221. That's not exactly like a low total for a Magic game and a Raptors team that's playing pretty good defense this year, at least at home. But yeah, on the road, you hope that those trends continue. Not only the 4-0 covering the over for the Raptors as home favorites, or excuse me, road favorites, but just them on the road in general. Not being quite as good on offense or defense. Really, on offense, I mean, they're still doing the same thing. They're playing faster, and they're scoring the same ways. So when you talk about a Toronto Raptors game and you want to talk about points or their success, you just start with all of the basically just go to advanced stats on NBA.com and go to the miscellaneous category for team stats. That's where you can see points off of turnovers. You can see second chance points. You can see fast break points. You can see points in the paint. And then you can also see how teams are defending all of those specific categories. And the Raptors just dominate all of those categories. Most points off of turnovers, most second chance points in the league, most fast break points in the league, and in in the top 10, 10th in points in the paint. They defend the paint really well to the tune of like 12th, 13th best in the league. They're getting back on defense pretty well, but on the road specifically, where they're playing at that 101 pace essentially, they are bottom 10, bottom 8 in terms of giving up opponents fast break points. Not exactly how Orlando beats you. Orlando doesn't really have a strong offensive identity outside of more it's Franz and Paolo and really Cole Anthony starting things, but then Markelle, we'll see how he gets back into it. Like I said, there's not really an identity with guys coming in and out, plus starting, playing 6-7 footers throughout the game also kind of throws off your rhythm at times. But I do like what I'm seeing for the over when you look at Paolo being back, their defensive rating being a little better without him. That's also a complete correlation with how often he and Wendell Carter Jr. have not been playing together. Wendell Carter Jr. is out, which is the reason I'm not comfortably saying, yeah, take Orlando to cover 8. They've covered these games at home, and they're losing at home by a lot less than 8 points a game, and the Raptors are not even able to have a positive plus minus against the spread or otherwise on the road right now. But Wendell Carter Jr. being out is so huge for their team. Their defensive rating drops from goes all the way up from 113.6 with him to 120 essentially without him. Mo Wagner being in there, Moritz has been a little bit better at 33.8 minutes a game in his last 2. 20 points, 12.5 boards, 3.5 assists, shooting 61% from the field. The 106 defensive rating for him looks pretty good, but you also look at the teams that the Magic have played lately, the Clippers that are kind of duty on offense. They had a good game against the Bucks, they only gave up 109 there, and that's at home, right? So, there's opportunity here for them with these guys in to get points, for them to at least keep it close so that this thing can stay interesting. I think you can feel pretty good about a Raptors. I actually like the Raptors to cover their team total as well tonight, which is the reason, it's kind of conflicting with me wanting to take the Magic, but I think I'm leaning points is where I put my coin tonight, as opposed to really worrying about the Magic having to cover with all these stark numbers, and we've seen them cover on the road so much. The Magic, that is 8-4 against the spread as the home dog, beating that spread by about 3 points. So losing by 4 or 5 seems about right for them, but I think we can get this to about 115, 113 in that range, and have a nice mid to high 20s game to get over this total.
Yeah, but we did just see this with the Raptors at home, and it was like no contest. It was 36-22 after 1, and then Toronto just kind of cruise control, go ahead and put up 121 on Orlando. Okay. That game was played with a little bit of slower pace, like we're talking about. We expect the Raptors to be a little faster here on the road. They're coming off 126 against the shorthanded Lakers, who do like to play past. I think they're starting to get whole again with Pascal getting back into a rhythm. With right. Van Fleet's been in and out, and I would be worried taking the Magic to cover against a legit contender. They did manage to muck it up with the Clippers, like you said. It's stunning that they went over what this total would be, 227, playing at a pace of 91. Also stunning that they decided to play fast against the Bucks, though, right, and give up 34 to Giannis. That game would have been a lot more high scoring if Chris Middleton didn't have a complete dud, and we kind of sour on the rest of the Bucks offense besides Giannis going downhill right now. There's not much going on for them. So, I think the Raptors, much more versatile. Like I said, they really cruised. They shot 56% from the floor against this Magic team. They started Koloko to get a little bit more size because the Magic are so big, but they still couldn't keep Orlando off the line. And that's the key when you look at some of these young teams is can they generate some offense on the free throw line? And I think Toronto much worse in that department on the road. So it all kind of supports a bit more of a high scoring game, whichever side we wind up on the spread.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game is play big. It's odd because I do like Toronto down low, the way that they kind of bang down low not dominate. They do they really the paint is super important for them in terms of defending it and scoring from there. But then you look at Orlando and like you said, free throws are super important. Orlando is getting to the line at the 5th highest rate in the league right now, which is understandable. Like we said, when you have guys that are taller than every single guy that they're playing against at every single position. position for them. And the opposition's free throw rate for Toronto's bottom 10 as well. They're not very good at not fouling, essentially, as they play pretty aggressively all over the place. So I think that if they get to the line, especially, you feel good about it. Maybe you just feel good about that Raptors team total that's closer to like 215 or so, and 214, and 114 for their total individually. I'd still feel good about that. Like you said, 121 last time, playing at this faster pace on the road, and there's still going to be opportunity for points in this game for sure. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us, coming back to you each and every weekday with these game videos and player props. So until we see you next, happy betting.